In terms of a true embodied experience, your obsession with getting to the goal or the end result or the destination, or being attached to these specific sensations, patterns of movement, ways that you're used to being touched, ways that you're used to touching yourself, it can actually limit your capacity for pleasure, right? So it's sort of like if someone was like walking a wheelbarrow through a garden, right? And it's like the wheelbarrow just has that one wheel that goes through the garden and it just takes the same path every single time. There's all these other potential paths in the garden that could be interesting to explore and could have like beautiful things to discover and stuff that wants to like bloom and grow and blossom there. But we don't go to those parts of the garden because we're very fixated on this familiar groove, right? So the practice becomes to actually not give yourself the thing you think you want. I know that it's like so convoluted, but it's like not pushing for the climax, not pulling for the orgasm, not just like doing the thing that you know works because you want to get to that like explosive place that's like fun and charged, but actually can limit our range. So this is part of like repatterning our I was gonna say our pleasure grid. I don't know if that's actually a term, but that's what I'll just call it. It's like repatterning and understanding that there might be other things that feel very good to you or that are stimulating to you in a different kind of way that you bypass or ignore or don't hold space for because they aren't as familiar or necessarily like high sensation or exciting. Because like you said, if I'm in my head and I'm picturing something, or if I'm just listening to this like dirty narrative that my partner is delivering to me, how present am I to what's happening in my body? And how much am I just using my mind or using that type of specific sensory experience to inform my body in a specific way, right? Which again, isn't bad. Like, isn't bad, is totally worthwhile. We're not always checking out or going into our heads because something is uncomfortable or bad. It can also be because there's so much sensation or there's such a sense of connection or there's so much depth or connectivity or intimacy that it actually can feel scary to want to be like that seen or that vulnerable or that intimate with another person. So like, you know, it doesn't have to be about like, first of all, nothing is ever always or never where it's like, I can never check out. I can never fantasize. I can never blah, blah, blah. It's more about noticing like, well, what is happening when I check out, right? Like, does it follow a sort of pattern? What do I feel in my body? Like, what is it like from the neck down when I catch myself checking out? Is there a sensation that I'm avoiding, whether it's pleasure or something uncomfortable? Is there, like getting really curious about just what's happening there is a good place to begin. Also, like the feminine lives in our sensory experience. So like sight is part of your sensory experience. Listening is part of your sensory experience. Like if there's a certain smell that like makes you feel like ylang ylang is like an oil that's like you can diffuse, that's typically like very sensual and pleasing to people. It's like an aphrodisiac. Great. Like, why not use those things? But just notice for yourself if it's moving into this mode where it's like it feels like there's a dependency there, or it's a way that you keep yourself checked out of your body. That's when we just maybe want to go, okay, let me just try something a little bit different and see what the experience is like, and be really willing and curious to just notice, because we all want to know like what works for us or what gets it done or what like our sort of like canned sexual preferences are. My thing is like, I don't want us to be defined or confined by them. Like I want everyone to get to play in this really like wide rangeful way with the full potential of your sexual experience and your feminine system and all of those things. And if any of you don't want that for yourself, then like that's completely fine. Like don't just say that. Don't start having a certain type of sex because like Amy thinks this is a good idea. Like feel for yourself like what is going to serve you in your process right now.